This is going to be the first video in my Restoration Hardware ASPIN collection chair build that I'm doing. We had seen these chairs, as I mentioned before, and we wanted to, I guess, make our own version of them. The original ones are 407 pounds each and are over 3,500 bucks each. So we figured we could make them lighter and cheaper and actually even customize them a little bit more. And I'll get into that later on. But what you're looking at here is some 8x8 kiln dried cedar that has been broad axed. So it's a texture technique that they do, and they chop it all up. And if I walk you outside here to our faux header, you can kind of get an idea what it looks like. So this is going to be a way of kind of tying in some design cues to our furniture. So the first step is going to be to putting all these together. So I'll take this down and we'll get started. All right, so to speed things up, we're a few days later and we have glued all four, I guess, sections together. That means this is glued to this with some heavy duty construction adhesive, and then the next process will be to flip it upside down and start screwing these together. So this was the armrest portion, and you'll see the bottom of this. So you're looking at the bottom side of the chairs, and I have the holes marked up at like 4 3/4 a pop. I'm gonna put 8 of them in here, and I got my paddle bit ready to go. So I'll be back when this thing's all okay. We got chair number 1. We got this thing all drilled up, and what I decided to do is, like I said, this is already glued together, and I'm using these Simpson 10-inch SDWS timber screws, and they're real freaking cool. And what I did was I kind of took a guesstimate. Like, I wanted this screw to be about, like halfway into that next timber. So with that measured, I used a little depth gauge here, and I just measured that out and marked my paddle bit so that it did the correct length. And so now I'll take this and drive these in there. Hey there, I sort of forgot to list some of the costs, so let's try and catch up with what we got here so far. I'm about $1,400 into just the lumber. This is enough. You're not even seeing, this is enough for one chair right here. The backrest and the base are still upstairs, and so that's out of sight. And then you're looking at, I figured I would use about 48 of those timber screws there, and a box of 50 is 74 bucks. So that catches us up to right now. So okay, I'm right about to glue this one to this one, and you can see how the holes are offset by an inch or so on each one. So this piece is going to come up here, sit right there, and get the 10-inch SWS screws. So right, we're back on the second chairs now. So we've got one armrest drilled, and we're going to start on the other. I wanted to show you these Bosch paddle bits, and they're called Bulldog paddle bits, and they have that screw tip, which is just awesome. It drives the paddle bit. I mean, you don't even have to push down on the drill. In fact, you actually have to have a little restraint, or else it'll just go to China. So the yellow tape right here, the tip of that, or the top of it, represents my stop point. So I'll just take a second here to show you how quickly these drill in here. Here we go. Done. So this is the tool I'm using to drive these SWDS screws in there. This is what Bosch calls the Freak, and it is a 1/2-inch impact driver, and it goes 1/2 inch to 1/4 to this T40 bit that drives the screws in here. I didn't realize it, but after driving all these screws in here, this bit gets over 100 degrees, and you could probably tell me why, but I have no idea. But as you can imagine, I went to go remove that bit and found it quite hot. So before we get started here, I'll show you that this thing is 0 temp or whatever we have here, and we'll take a temp reading after she's done working. I'm sorry, we're gonna have to forego the heat up bit challenge. I discovered that why play with this tool when I have this tool? Maybe I'll show you a side-by-side comparison of what it takes to drive with this versus this. So okay, here we are with the Freak. All right, I'll be back with the impact. Yeah, this one. Hey, interesting discovery. I was driving this screw in, and even with that large impact driver that I have, it didn't want to go. In fact, it felt like it was going to break the screw. So I backed it out, and then I saw the tip looks like maybe it hit a knot or something bad, because you could see the serrade, the very, very tip right here, is nothing like what a new one is. And that made all the difference in driving these things in. But just to get a closer look at how kind of intricate and technical these things are. I mean, look at the heads on these things. They're pretty cool. And then this is kind of another little feature. The serrades at the end there, that actually helps lock the screw in when it's done its job. So one more tidbit of mishap trivia. I originally was going to put 6 screws in each timber, and then with my advanced calculus math skills, I figured that a box of 50 up there would do the job. But then at the last minute, I made it an executive decision to do 8, and then of course I came up short. So this was my compromise: 5 in these last logs. So you got one in the middle and these sort of offset. This one's not here because I was going to run into a knot on one of the logs. So rather than repeat my screw mishap, this is what the executive decision. Some more material trivia. On chair number 1, I used Liquid Nails Extreme, and chair number 2, I used this Loctite PL375. And what I noticed is this Liquid Nails is much thicker and a little bit harder to compress, versus this Loctite, it is less dense, I guess you could say. So what I'm trying to explain is, when I went to go glue these chairs together, they didn't really want to squish that much. In fact, I used those clamps to kind of squish them real good and make sure they were flat. But when doing these ones, this stuff is not as dense, so it tends to spread out or allow the materials to come together much easier without using the clamp force. And because I'm actually using the screws on this one, I don't have to use the clamps. So I just put those on there, and then use the impact, and we'll be done with chair number 2. So this is the part of the video where we talk about customization. These are 2 swivel rocker chairs that we took from the Palms, and we like them, and we've kind of used this as a baseline for those ASPIN chairs. And there's a few things that these have that the ASPINs don't, and vice versa. So first of all, the ASPIN chair, I've kind of drawn it up. This is what it looks like stock. The inner dimension, which is this area in here, is 22 inches. And for a big chair like that, that's it's kind of short. I mean, this chair here, which we like, is 25 inches, kind of seating width, and it narrows down to 24 or so. So that's something that this chair is better, in my opinion. That those ASPIN chairs are pretty big, and to have a smaller sitting area is sort of, I don't like it. So I've made an executive decision to make this 22-inch dimension on the ASPIN chair, on our chairs. I'm gonna go with 25 on that, so it'll be at least this wide here. And yeah, they say that the cushion height, and I'm guessing the cushion is going to be around 8 or 9 inches, because in the photos you can see it comes up to this second log here. They say that height is 16 inches, and when you measure these seats here, the cushion height is right around 19. So you notice that the ASPIN chair, it doesn't have any any casters or rollers or anything. So I'm going to do something about that, and to be determined. So let's go down and see what my drawing looks like. All right, here is the difference between the ASPIN chair and the chair we're making. The overall width is going to jump from 38 to 41 inches, and the seating width is going to go from 22 to 25. So that's not at scale, but you probably won't even know the difference. Okay, we're at the part of the video where it gets interesting for me. And why I say that is because this is sort of just a guess. You know, everything up to this point has been pretty predetermined, but this port is, this angle iron here is where the seat base is going to sit. So, and this would be, you know, when it's all cut, it'll be where the seat back is. And the stock ASPIN chair is very simple, and it sits like this, and you know, it has whatever degree angle going back. So no big deal. But we've all sat in chairs that have different comfort and stuff, and so we could actually canter this, you know, and have the seat kind of have a slope back here and angle this to where the seat has a completely customizable, and where it gets tricky is without having the cushions here, you know, if you just have wood here sitting in here, the chair might sit one way, but then when you mock up the cushions, which are going to be, again, another custom thing coming, so I'll talk about that later, but so this is just kind of a guess, and what I figured I could do is cut these to an approximate length and then put a screw in each one of these things, and then, you know, like I'm doing here, just use this as a pivot point and use this right here to angle whatever feels comfortable for us, and just kind of go from there. So I will end the video here, and part 2 will start on the next round, and hopefully I'll have some things figured out.